On right now with me is Michael J. Knowles, the king of trolls himself. He's a cultural correspondent for the Daily Wire, and he's an author of Reasons to Vote Democrat, A Comprehensive Guide. The book has reached #1 on Amazon's bestseller list, and has even received the endorsement of President Donald Trump. Trump tweeted, "A great book for your reading enjoyment. Reasons to Vote for Democrats by Michael J. Knowles." As Daily Wire editor-in-chief, Ben Shapiro says, Reasons to Vote Democratic Comprehensive Guide is very, quote, thorough, unquote. Michael, I have to ask you, what inspired you to write such an insightful, in-depth, informative, and dare I say, persuasive analysis?
Well, people often complain that our civil discourse has been degraded over the years, particularly by those on the left who resort to name-calling and shrill and hysterical emotional arguments. So I thought it would be great to outline in an academic and serious and, more than anything, concise way all of the reasons that one ought to vote for the Democrat Party. And it's always so gratifying when an academic work, such as my own, can reach a mass audience, as this clearly has. So I think the appetite for serious and, more than anything, persuasive academic and political discourse is clearly quite strong in the country.
So how does it feel, Michael, I have to ask you, to be #1 on the bestseller list? I'm sure when you wrote this, you didn't know that it could possibly go this well. So how does it feel to be on top?
It's quite nice. It was really an incredible thing because I sent over the dense and albeit concise manuscript on a Saturday, and I believe within 4 days the book was the #1 best-selling book in the world, according to Amazon, and it stayed there for a week and a half. It stayed there for 11 consecutive days, despite the New York Times not giving us our due of putting it on the bestseller list. But the book, by the time we had sold it to Simon & Schuster for a second edition, had already sold about 85,000 copies.
Oh my God.
And since then, it's sold many more. I don't have up-to-date sales numbers, but even within days of selling it to Simon & Schuster, it had surpassed 100,000 copies. So it's a surreal experience, and really, thank you very much. And it does give me a lot of encouragement about the enthusiasm and the exuberance on the right at this moment, and our finally fighting back in this cultural battle that's been waging for decades.
Awesome. And for those of you who don't know, Michael's actually starting his own show on the Daily Wire very soon. Michael, when are you starting your show, and how can people listen to it?
So the show is going to launch on Monday. It's going to launch this coming Monday, so the July 24th. I think I might be the only guy in history to ever get a show for writing nothing. So that's a nice treat about this show. And it's great. We're going to be covering a lot of culture, but also, of course, we'll have politics and news in there. And we've got this really nice studio that they've built for us at the Daily Wire, and it will be really nice. So I'll still be appearing on the Andrew Klavan show there, and we obviously host the Ben Shapiro show, which is the #1 conservative podcast in the country. So we'll see. I will say, if the listeners can manage to troll my show, the first episode, up to the #1 conservative podcast in the country, I think I will know that I'm living in the Matrix. That will be the official proof.
For sure. So I know you had many lengthy Twitter discussions, very academic discussions, on what the title of your show should be. Do you have any ideas what it's going to be yet?
We've been kicking them around. The people on Twitter are the funniest people I think I've ever read. They were the ones who wrote thousands and thousands of lengthy and erudite reviews of Reasons to Vote for Democrats, the Comprehensive Guide, and they're really clever. So they've come up with some ideas. A lot of them are puns on the word Knowles or trolls or nose or things like that. We're, because we're so clever here, and we're so into the use of words here at the Daily Wire, and, and certainly at Reasons to Vote for Democrats, we were thinking the Michael Knowles show. We think that might be the most concise way to get the message across.
That would be very funny. Are you actually going to do that? Is that what the name's going to be? Or you're not?
That's the name. Unless we're still open to suggestion. This show doesn't go live until Monday. So if any listeners have better ideas for the show, please tweet me at Michael J. Knowles. We'll change everything. We might even redo the set. But as of now, it will be called The Michael Knowles Show on the Daily Wire.
Right. So I saw on your Twitter today, Flyover Conservative tweeted at you, can you real quick produce an easy reading booklet for the GOP to repeal Obamacare? It might help. And you responded, for those of you who didn't see it, reasons not to vote for Obamacare repeal bill you already voted for 2 years ago. A comprehensive guide. So I just thought it was
pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Apparently Susan Collins and Lisa Murkowski and others of their ilk haven't read my political tome, but it is a really frustrating situation. And I do have some sympathy for the people who actually have to vote on these bills and put their careers at stake, because Obamacare cracked 1/6 of the economy, and it's very hard to put Humpty Dumpty back together again. So I do have a lot of sympathy for these people. However, when you've been campaigning for the better part of a decade to repeal this terrible law and to get the government's grimy hands off of even more of our healthcare system, you have to make good on that promise. And I think the senators who are stubbornly refusing to do anything about the situation are going to have a more difficult time come 2018 and 2020.
Yeah. So my question here is really, who do you think is more to blame for this issue? I know you mentioned the senators, but also the leadership has been really weak. So do you think it's more on Susan Collins, Rob Portman of Ohio, or do you think it's more of a Mitch McConnell, Paul Ryan issue?
I think the person who's to blame for this is Barack Obama. I think the blame is squarely at the feet of Barack Obama, because when he eked through his law and then proceeded to lose every election in the country after that point, from the state level and the municipal level all the way up to the Congress and the presidency. But when he got that through, it's very difficult to repeal entitlements, even unpopular entitlements. Right. And it's very difficult to reconstruct 1/6 of the economy when you have major health insurers and market uncertainties abounding as a result of that law. So there has been certainly weak leadership all around. There should have been a consensus replacement plan before Republicans won this election. I think some Republicans were taken by surprise that we won so strongly in 2016, and they were not prepared to fulfill the promises that they had made. But in terms of Susan Collins or Lisa Murkowski or the moderates in the Senate, we know who they are. They have moderate constituencies, and so it's hard to really blame them for catering to their constituencies. But it is deeply frustrating. And it would have been a lot better for the Republican Party and for the country if they had taken their campaign promises seriously during the campaign and been prepared to pass this healthcare legislation when they ultimately won that election. But that said, the blame rests squarely at the feet of Barack Obama. He successfully broke 1/6 of our economy, and we're having great difficulty picking up the pieces.
Right. I agree totally. Well, thank you very much, Michael. You've been awesome. We really appreciate you coming on the show, and we hope to have you again soon. Thanks so much.
Matt, it's great to join you. Appreciate being here, and look forward to talking soon.